Good morning.
Good
Morning.
Everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. So today we're going to continue our study of the Genjokoan. If you haven't already listened to Peter's talk on the fish swims in the water section of the Genjokoan, I highly recommend it. It's in the practice period resources, and we're spending the whole month working through what Peter brought up in that talk. So he was using a commentary on the Shobogenzo Genjokoan by three more or less contemporary Zen masters. Nishiyari Bokusan, who was one of Suzuki Roshi's sources for his understanding of the Genjokoan. Uchiyama Roshi, who was one of Shohaku Okumura's main sources, and Shunryu Suzuki Roshi, our Dharma dad, grandfather, and so on. And I wanted to bring in this book, which I assume that Peter or you ordered fairly recently. It was completed last year. This is a scholarly translation of the entire Shobogenzo that took years and years to create. So it's an amazing text that has the footnotes of thousands of scholars and scholarly ancestors, and probably not many people can actually have this particular resource, but it might be in a library, a temple, or here, where you can check out the meaning of a particular word or phrase. So you're going to hear this section of the Genjokoan, just a few sentences that we're studying today. So last week we studied that, last week we began our study of the Genjokoan. Today we continue it. If a bird leaves the air, it will die at once. If a fish leaves the water, it will die at once. Know that water is life and air is life. The bird is life and the fish is life. Life must be the bird. Life must be the fish. It's possible to illustrate this with more analogies, this matter with more analogies. Practice, enlightenment, and people are like this. Sounds pretty straightforward, Birds leave the air, they die pretty soon. Fish leave the water, they die pretty soon. So for a fish, water is life. For a bird, air is life. And the bird itself is life. The fish itself is life. But then we start getting a little bit interesting here. Life must be the bird, and life must be the fish. So it's not possible for life just to be life without a living being to express that life. It's not possible for life to exist, for the universal life energy to exist without embodiment. And this is where it gets really interesting. So take a look with your eyes or with your heart at your own body and mind. I'd like to suggest that you consider how many times you've wanted it to be otherwise. Just saying. How many times has there been an actual issue or problem with your history or your embodiment or mind? Just take a moment to, reflect on this question. It's not an idle question. And so we look at this embodiment of ours, this life of ours, this historical life of ours, like, oh no, my parents. Oh no, menopause. Oh no, age. Okay? It's really interesting that at the beginning of our lives, we kind of think, I want to be old enough to do this. I want to be old enough to do that. And then towards the end, we kind of think, I want to be young enough to do this. I want to be young enough to do that. You know? Anyway, we're always looking for something else. And that's where it begins to get interesting. So life must be the bird, life must be a fish, life must be this somehow. Check it out. Life must be, you know, it's kind of, so Peter noted in his 2019 talk that most people think the way is something outside of this, or outside of our present life or our present activity. In a word, nope. Okay, so I just want to read what Uchiyama Roshi had to say on this. Is that okay, even though it's reading and not memorized? So Uchiyama Roshi was talking about this force of life that manifests and wants to manifest through our particular form, through our particular history, through our particular problems. Okay, so he said, no, it's not outside. Rather, this way is one's own attitude towards life. To practice Buddha Dharma for the sake of Buddha Dharma. Not getting something else. Buddha Dharma is the way of life. Life driving, in which we live out the reality of life. We cannot escape from Buddha Dharma, like a bird or a fish can't escape from its realm. Such life driving or way of life is a matter of this very person, this exact person. It cannot be a matter of general principle. It has to be embodied. So last week we studied how fish swims in the water and water's the field of the fish. For the fish, as for this very person, the field of activity is completely boundless, and the sky is the same for a bird. And the whatever it is that we're swimming in, the ocean of causes and conditions, the ocean of the interconnection of causes and conditions, the ocean, the, what should I say, the nature of the ocean, the single nature of the ocean of all causes and each causes and conditions. So let's study how for a fish to be a fish is life, for a bird to be a bird is life, for ourselves, guess what? So because I'm living with my karmic nature, I can't do anything but live out these karmic conditions by refining my life. So this drive to refine our life is what Suzuki Roshi named inmost request. So when all is said and done, what do we want most? So I want to point out that one person might be sitting with a knee injury. For another person, sitting might feel great. One person might be sitting with generations of trauma. For another person, generations of privilege, like not having to worry about trauma. Wherever we are, the important thing to which we aspire is to perform masterfully, Uchiyama Roshi said, with our specific karmic conditions in the present moment. Okay, in this pile back here, there are some copies of the Eihei Koso Hotsugan Mon. There's also other stuff there, so the other stuff belongs to me, but the copies of the Eihei Koso Hotsugan Mon, if you could distribute them, that would be great. Is there a way to screenshot them so people online can see them? Or not?
I can share screen and look it up, yes.
Yeah, Eihei Koso Hotsugan Mon.
Alright.
So this is the San Francisco Zen Center chants. And this is Dogen Zenji. I don't remember what fascicle this is culled from, but Eihei is great peace, and it's Eihei of Eihei-ji. So it was we call Dogen by the name of his temple, Eihei. So he was the Eihei-ji founder. So it's the great vow of Eihei Dogen Daiyosho. So do you want to hold it up so that you can sit upright, and let's say this together. And then you can look at it for a little while to see if there's a part that you don't agree with, okay? Do you want to look at it first? Just so you don't have to vow it? Why don't you look at it first for just skim it a little to see if there's a part you hate. Can you see it?
Yes.
Chris, can you see it?
I remember it pretty well.
Okay. Okay. Are you willing to read this? Dogen's great vow. Let's read it. We vow with all beings from this life on throughout countless lives to hear the true Dharma, that upon hearing it, no doubt will arise in us, nor will we lack in faith, that upon meeting it, we shall renounce worldly affairs and maintain the Buddha Dharma, and that in doing so, the great earth and all living beings together will attain the Buddha way. Although our past evil karma has greatly accumulated, indeed being the cause and condition of obstacles in practicing the way, may all Buddhas and ancestors who have attained the Buddha way be compassionate to us and free us from karmic effects, allowing us to practice the way without hindrance. May they share with us their compassion, which fills the boundless universe with the virtue of their enlightenment and teachings. Buddhas and ancestors of old were as we. We in the future shall be Buddhas and ancestors. Revering Buddhas and ancestors, we are one Buddha and one ancestor. Awakening Bodhi mind, we are one Bodhi mind. Because they extend their compassion to us freely and without limit, we are able to attain Buddhahood and let go of the attainment. Therefore, the Chan Master Lunya said, those who in past lives were not enlightened will now be enlightened. In this life, save the body, which is the fruit of many lives. Before Buddhas were enlightened, they were the same as we. Enlightened people of today are exactly as those of old. Quietly explore the farthest reaches of these causes and conditions, as this practice is the exact transmission of a verified Buddha. Confessing and repenting in this way, one never fails to receive profound help from all Buddhas and ancestors. By revealing and disclosing our lack of faith and practice before the Buddha, we melt away the root of transgressions by the power of our confession and repentance. This is the pure and simple color of true practice, of the true mind of faith, of the true body of faith. Thank you. So I would like to ask if this great vow, it's easy to tell what he's talking about in terms of our history or our embodied existence, right? So he talks about the problem of embodied existence, the problem of in-minded existence, in-thoughted existence. Okay, so he talks about that, and he talks about confession and repentance. But in this document, there's a couple of places where he talks about the ocean, the water, and not just the waves. What are a couple of the phrases that he uses to indicate the ocean that we can never leave and that we sit in the middle of? Please, you don't have to raise your hand, just somebody.
They share with us their compassion, which fills the boundless universe with the virtue of their enlightenment and teaching.
Right, it's boundless universe, okay, and it's full, okay? And what are some of the other phrases? Chris, you had something to say?
Yes, it said something like, embracing Bodhi mind, we are one Bodhi mind.
Yeah. Okay, anything online, you don't have to raise your hand, just speak if you have something to say. Okay, so it talks about the ocean and the life of a fish. It talks about the sky and the life of the bird in terms of the ocean of oneness, the boundless universe, full of all sorts of wonderful things, and our bounded, limited, embodied existence that we have to acknowledge and work with. So I would like to say that there's not much in Western culture that shows us how to work with this stuff. As a matter of fact, a lot of Western culture is about showing us how not to work with this stuff. You know, how to think that we're leaving the Buddha Dharma or think that we're leaving the ocean in favor of something more desirable. So if you think of magazine ads in fashion magazines, right? Or the promises that people make about products, right? Think about promises that people make about products, about new buildings, about planning or government. Think about campaign promises for a moment. And it's all leading to the idea that that the world could be otherwise, it could be a better world in material terms. But when we think about awakening, our world actually is otherwise when we are awake and filled with compassion. Our world actually is otherwise right now. And so the boundless universe must manifest as us, and we must be the hands and feet for boundless wisdom and compassion, just as we are. You want to object, don't you? Objection. Okay.
Objection. Well, not an objection, but, well, like, you know, we say the Western culture or whatever, but that includes Western art and Western science. Mm-hmm. And within Western art and science, I think there's a lot of connection with these teachings.
Absolutely, like in music itself.
In music.
Like I'm thinking about Dick Catalano and his death, where Blanche and Basia were chanting for him, and he was like, oh, no, 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 like that. And then as soon as they stopped chanting and put on Mozart and Bach, he could breathe his last. It was like, phew, you know? So exactly. Yeah. So there is something about art. If you look at Jane's paintings.
Yeah, Jane's paintings.
But Jane's paintings, your paintings are all different. You know, they're all different, and yet they all point to what is the foreground of a particular point of view on life, and what is the background that makes that foreground meaningful and vital just as it is.
It's also presence.
presence.
for all of us, like the green painting
Yeah.
over there and the red one over here by the door.
Yeah. So,
And that also,
and this one
so
also,
the light is right on it, when we
Yeah.
have a real light.
yeah.
That's White Dragon.
Mm.
And so Jane wasn't painting, Jane doesn't paint things. You know what I mean? Things as they are in the context of things as it is. Things as they are, things as it is Suzuki Roshi's expression for birds and sky. And music, you know, if you think about what it is to play in an ensemble,
Yeah.
all of the instruments are doing something different. And just like when we keep similar spacing for kinhin,
Yeah.
the whole thing has a meaning that transmits something about what it is to be alive. And that's why we have these forms, so that we can share them and imbue them with present life.
Yeah.
Just like scores have no, you know, if you read a score, the meaning of the score is in the inner music that it
In the
brings
inner
up.
music, and then in the music produced by people playing
Right.
and singing.
So the music that is produced by people is always different. It's always of the moment. It's always, if you even think of the different qualities of the different halls in which things are played,
Huge.
it's always different. Anyway, we're gonna talk about this during your practice.
Okay.
period as she
I'll
said.
shut up. You shut me up
So,
whenever you
yeah,
feel like it.
okay. So, I do wanna say, so this little section here, I wanna talk about, Genjo and Shujo. Okay, so Genjo is the Genjo of Genjokoan. And Genjokoan, we talk about that as actualizing the fundamental point or the fundamental matter. I know I wrote this, I wrote something about this. And so what does Genjo actually mean? So Gen means the present, what's existing or what's current, but also administration or government. So, or deportment. It's a specific state of current affairs. And Jo means to turn into, to become, to get, to grow, to elapse, or to reach. So it's actualizing the fundamental point is Genjo koan, actualizing in the present the koan of everyday life. Everyday life being a public case that's open for everyone to see, just like our embodiment. And practice realization, shusho, is also a big point in this little section of the Genjokoan. Shu means discipline or conducting oneself, studying or mastering something. And it starts with a person radical, and it has meeting inside of it, so you know that it's going to be about actualizing something in the present. Like that characters always have a visual meaning as well as a thought meaning that like our English words. And sho is proving, evidencing, verifying, certificating, stamping, sealing with approval, witnessing, guaranteeing. So it means this shusho is that practice and verification are one. And this shusho and this genjo, the play between the genjo, which is the ocean, and the shusho, which is our activity that verifies the fundamental point, is the point of this paragraph. Does that make sense to you? Did I say something intelligible? I hope. Okay, and another way to understand it is this poem of Mary Oliver's, The Summer Day. Okay, so Mary Oliver is the same person who wrote, you don't have to be good. Yeah, you don't have to walk 100 miles across the desert on your knees repenting. All you have to do is let the soft, warm animal of your body love what it loves. And then basically, tell me about your obstacles, yours, and I'll tell you mine. And she keeps going about the wild geese, harsh and exciting, and geese are a symbol of faithfulness and fidelity. But that's not the poem that came up during the opening ceremony, so I'll say what it was. So this is called The Summer Day. Who made the world? Who made the swan and the black bear? Who made the grasshopper? This grasshopper, I mean. Who made the grasshopper? This grasshopper, I mean. The one who has flung herself out of the grass. The one who is eating sugar out of my hand. Who is moving her jaws back and forth instead of up and down. Who is gazing around with her enormous and complicated eyes. Now she lifts her pale forearms and thoroughly washes her face. Now she snaps her wings open and floats away. I don't know exactly what a prayer is. I do know how to pay attention, how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel down in the grass, how to be idle and blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which is what I've been doing all day. Tell me, what else should I have done? Doesn't everything die at last, and too soon?
I'm sorry, what was that last sentence you said?
Doesn't everything die at last, and too soon? Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? So she's talking about our driving intention, our life driving intention, just like Uchiyama Roshi did. So I want to say, I do want to say why, I don't want to go on too long, but I do want to say why I think it's important to practice self-nourishment during sesshin and not to dominate ourselves. And I do want to go into this one more translation of this little section. That's okay, so this is the scholar's translation. Okay, here we go. In this way, while none of them, birds or fish, fails to reach its limits, and nowhere do they fail to overturn it, or limitation. If the bird were to leave the sky, it would die quickly. If the fish were to leave the water, it would quickly die. So we should know that they take water as life. We should know that they take the sky as life. It's a phrase from Chan Buddhism, Chinese Zen Buddhism. There is taking the bird as life. There is taking the fish as life. It should be taking life as the bird. It should be taking life as the fish. Other than these, there should be further steps forward. So stepping forward and stepping back are part of Zen training. So stepping into causes and conditions, stepping back to turn the light inward to manifest. There are practice verifications of Shōsan, and that have those lifespan practice verification with a lifespan. It comes some other way. Those with lives are just like this. Okay, so I think that's important to read the scholar's take on it. So this thing about Eihei Koso Hotsugan Mon, Buddhas and ancestors of old were like us. We in the future shall be Buddhas and ancestors, revering Buddhas and ancestors. We are one Buddha and one ancestor. Awakening Bodhi mind. We are one Bodhi mind. But then it goes on to talk about repentance and confession. We melt away the root of our transgressions by the power of our repentance. So our transgressions come from being embodied as limited human beings. We don't have to blame ourselves for our transgressions. We have to, in the words of AA, because we're addicted to them, okay, transgressions, and the limitations of our structure. We have to make searching and fearless moral inventory, and whenever possible, make amends. It is said, there's a phrase in one of the koans, Chu shaku, jo shaku. Chu means coming, jo means going. Stepping forward is a mistake, stepping back, there's a mistake. It means we can't do activity and we can't practice without our limitations. So I'd like to introduce the idea of nourishing or cultivating ourselves while holding an understanding of our limitations and our mistakes, which are unavoidable, written into the histories and the embodiments that we have, that we are. But the confession, the repentance, and the cultivation is also written in prior to the limitations. The ocean, we are 99% ocean, and 1% limitations. Science has proven. Are there any scientists in this room? 99% water, 95, 99, people don't agree, but it's a huge amount of water, small amount of structural limitations. So we have to confess them. We have to avow them. And we have to practice. So how do we do this? Well, I'll tell you. So I want to emphasize shamatha because we're in sesshin. So zazen is the unity of shamatha and vipassana. So if you go anywhere in China or Japan and you look for an 8-sided sign on a road, it will say in Japanese, shi. Shi means stop. Okay, that's a stop sign, right? 8-sided sign, stop. And then if you listen to any Zen master, they'll say, kan, see, right? See or appreciate or understand. So the ancient Tendai word for zazen is shikan, or jerguan. I'm sorry, I don't remember the tones, but I think it's jerguan. I'm not sure. Does anyone speak Mandarin? Yeah. Anyone online? Well, I can look up the tones some other time, but it means stopping and seeing, or stabilization and contemplation, or concentrating and concentration and insight. So it's really interesting because usually, because we think the way is outside of ourselves, we think that concentration is a matter of kind of sitting there and beating ourselves into submission until we're concentrated. So we think of concentration as kind of outside of ourselves and we have to get it. But I want to say that I've spent the last 45 years since I was ordained thinking about how do we actually cultivate concentration. The first thing I want to say is to nourish the body with the food, the exercise, and the sleep that it needs. There's other ways of nourishing the body, But the Buddha taught the four nourishments mostly as negatives, but I want to teach them as positives to actually find concentration. And then think of contemplation as something that happens if we stay present to ourselves as we're concentrated, present to ourselves and our condition. So first one's nourishing the body, food, exercise, sleep, cleanliness. The second one is nourishing the senses, beauty, order, harmony, peace, for the eyes, the ears, the nose, the tongue, and the gross ability to think. So for instance, with multiple traumatic brain injury, I had expressive aphasia, and it was like all the filing cabinets were overturned and everything was on the floor in no particular order, and I couldn't read or anything, so I had to take my mental environment, just like my eyes, my ears, my nose, and my tongue, required separate rooms for me to be able to see, hear, taste, and touch, separate rooms or separate pieces. I had to reorganize my files into like red for administration and blue for connection, intimacy, relationships, yellow for yoga, and so on. And so I was able to put those things into their colored files, and that's a form of nourishment too, for the gross ability to think. So I practiced those things. Neurologically, I called it the 1,000,000 repetition recovery. Acknowledge my limitations and respect them instead of bemoaning them or fighting them. But I didn't just like sit and steep in them either. I was cultivating through those repetitions. So nourishing the body, nourishing the senses, and then what Dogen is talking about in the Eihei Koso Hotsugamon, what Uchiyama Roshi is talking about with the idea of life-driving force, is nourishing the intention. So be silent and still is an intention that we share for sesshin. So it doesn't mean that we have to shut up and force ourselves not to say anything. Like the stove is on fire, we don't say anything. Yeah, it's dumb. We wouldn't do that, but you know what I'm saying? You don't like divorce yourself from all reason or care. But be silent and still is an intention that we can hold together for sesshin. And just like that, we can hold the intention in all sorts of ways, like the intention of, I take refuge in Buddha, I take refuge in Dharma, I take refuge in Sangha. I vow to refrain from all action that creates attachment. I vow to make every effort to live in enlightenment. I vow to live and be lived for the benefit of all beings. Not to take life, but to cherish life. Not to misuse intimacy, but to respect intimacy. Not to steal, but to honor the gift not yet given, and so on. So we can honor these and cultivate them by knowing what our intention is and by doing things that go with that intention and not other intentions that we don't really want to have. So this is my message. Is it time? Yeah?
Can I
Yes,
say
ma'am.
something?
Yes, you
I
absolutely
still
can say
believe
something.
it's rude to just interrupt, so
No, please. You're not
Okay,
interrupting
I
if you're
just
saying
want to
something.
talk about shamatha also,
Please.
because I think it's really, really important in this practice.
Can you guys hear, or should I repeat what Jane is saying?
So,
I can hear.
You can hear?
Can you hear me?
So thumbs up if you can hear, thumbs middle if you can,
okay, good.
a little hear, thumbs down if you can't hear. So it's mostly thumbs middle. So I might have to repeat what you say, okay?
Okay. I learned the word shikan for being completely still in meditation. And I learned that it meant just doing this and nothing else.
Yeah, so shikan just doing this and nothing else. So that's like Shikan Taza.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Shikantaza, yeah. So, thus, Shikantaza, taza means just this, nothing else.
Just this, nothing else, but ta also means hit, so hits it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Anyway, so, when I sit down and start to do meditation, I feel like the first thing that we all do is we shut doors around us, not permanent doors, but just quick doors.
so when we sit down for meditation, the first thing we have to do is shut doors around us, not permanent, but just quick doors for just
Just quick,
this.
just quick doors, like we close off all the people that we usually want to say something to or see something from. Or
Close off all the doors of people we usually want to say something to or see something from.
Yeah, so we stop interacting just for the short time we're sitting.
We
We
stop
don't
interacting just for the short time we're sitting.
Yeah, we don't destroy interaction, but we just put it on hold for a while because
Put
that,
interaction on hold for a while.
that allows silence to start to work its magic.
Allow silence to start work its magic.
And silence is like a living thing, it's not something we make or die to make. It's
Silence is a living thing, not something we make or die to make. It's not a domination
Yes.
exercise.
That's right.
Yeah.
We just close the doors and allow silence to work its magic.
Okay.
That's all.
Yeah, so we close the doors and allow silence to work its magic. And this actually goes with the Tendai teachings, which were yogic teachings of how to build inner silence. And so they actually called eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin, and ability to think as sense doors that we needed to shut. And it's a much more kind of mature practice when we can maintain that sense and respond. That's called appropriate
interesting,
response.
yeah. And that's why Shikantaza wasn't usually taught until somebody had been sitting for a while.
Yeah, so Shikantaza wasn't usually taught till someone had been sitting for a while. And actually, the old Kalu Rinpoche, not the one who's alive now, but the previous Kalu Rinpoche, came to Green Gulch one time. And some of us were around, and he asked what our practice was. We started talking about Zazen, and he started laughing hysterically. And we said, "What?" And he said, pretty much, "I can't believe you guys do that at the beginning. That's ridiculous. We do that at the end." He laughed and laughed. And what I realized at that time was it doesn't matter whether we teach it at the beginning or not. No one can actually do it until they've
They've been
handled,
sitting for a while.
their causes and conditions.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have a lot of people who came from the 12-step community at San Francisco Zen Center, and who continue their recovery practices for the rest of their lives, because those are the fundamentals. Those are like the traffic rules of shamatha, right? I was talking with somebody who's one of my students in very experienced in recovery. And we were talking about the addictive nature of our habits and preconceptions, and how we turn to our habits and preconceptions to prevent us from actually living our lives and swimming in the ocean with other beings who are in the ocean, how we use them to divorce ourselves from compassion to our fellow humans and other people on this planet. And so he was saying that people self-medicate in substance abuse addictions, but addiction is a pretty universal defense that people have. And so we were talking about the validity of these practices for all of us. And specifically, if you have a pattern of abuse of substances or sex, but also there's something to be learned. And so I do want to say that these addictions, these obstacles, these limitations, these defenses that we have are very different from having boundaries or appreciation and skill with being limited.
One of the lines I liked very much in Mary Oliver's poem was the one that said, we should let this warm, I forget.
Soft, warm animal of the body love what it loves.
In other words, to just live naturally.
Live naturally.
It's a really nice line.
Yeah, and this was actually, I think this is really well expressed by that photo of Peter. And was it yellow roses?
Yellow roses, I was sitting in the living room and I saw him walking around the rose bushes, so I just took out my camera and took a shot of it.
Yeah.
It's actually a video.
Oh, wow. So Peter actually talked about yellow roses and
Yeah.
about his love for you.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He did. Talk to me about it anyway. He probably never told you. Yeah. So, is it okay? How long am I supposed to speak? Because it's 12 o'clock.
That was a good time to wrap up.
Now would be a good time to wrap up. Anything without which this talk will not be complete. Are we good?
Everything was very nice talk. I liked it very much.
Thank you.
Great. Thank
Thanks
you.
for coming, everybody.